watching on your phone right now because you were bored. Back in olden days, this was a laser disc. And you just watched it. That was the way that you would watch the highest quality Japanese cartoons possible. Laserdiscs were expensive as all hell. Owning American Laserdiscs was expensive. Japanese Laserdiscs were unholy expensive, and I'll get to that in a second. And so one of the reasons why I got together with friends to watch anime, such as clubs, is that it was really damn hard to find the cartoons. And so that's how all of this started. First off, real quick, again, welcome for those of you who came into the Clamp panel. My name is Phil Lee.
Hi everybody, I'm William Bloodworth.
So I am, I'm one of the original founders, God help me, of Animazement, and also one of the OG task guys. Udoka's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. And Bloodworth, when was your first Animazement?
First one I attended?
Yeah.
I first attended Animazement 2.
Yeah.
So forever I'm off by one, because I haven't missed one since.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and ask, who here has been coming to Animazement since 5 years ago? All right, 10 years ago. 15 years ago. Who here goes back to the beginning? That's Casey, that's Tony. Casey was in the guest relations trenches for years. Tony, you know and love from Udoka. Why are we still here? We don't know.
Because you guys are still here too. That's how it works.
So why are we in this panel? Because you guys couldn't get into the 18+1. We're here because we're going to tell you the history of Animazement briefly, and then we're going to have a lot of funny anecdotes because that's more entertaining. But real quick, let's first off start by me telling you about Cass. Barry, stand up and show off that sexy t-shirt. This is Barry Hales. It goes way back. Mike Moon did the art for that t-shirt.
He also designed the Animazement logo.
That's exactly right. Triangle Area Anime Society was NC State's anime club back in the just OG days. Thank you, sexy model.
Last millennium.
It was years.
And he can still wear a shirt. I'm jealous as hell. But the
shirt is older than heaven.
task goes back to, I think, 1990 or possibly a little earlier. It was over at NC State. And then its peak, I remember the time we showed the Street Fighter II movie, aka the one where Chun-Li takes a shower. We had 300 people show up in one of the state ballrooms. And around that same time, we were attending Katsucon, which was happening up in Virginia Beach back in the day. I'm going to hold up things that you can't see from that distance. But the short version is, we all went to Katsucon 1, and we all had these badges that you can't see that say Triangle Area Anime Society staff. It doesn't say Katsucon staff, it says task staff. We were helping run the video rooms. They were having a rough first year. We kind of wandered around and did a lot. This basically became an impromptu staff badge. And so by Katsucon 2, we had more staff authority, and we had these cool We Control the Video badges from Video Girl Live. These acted as sort of staff badges, and we're like, you know what? We can put on an anime con. How hard could it possibly be? And that was a terrible mistake. As it turns out, it's really difficult, as I'm sure you all know. So Triangle Area Anime Society, back in the day, Mike Moon, as mentioned, is a gentleman who designed the original Animazement logo that is still used today. I'm sure you can see up there one of those books. Voila. And we got together, early people I'd like to go ahead and mention, aside from Casey and Tony are in here, but we had a gentleman named Joe Maxwell. Joe Maxwell was the original con chair for the first Animazement. He was also the bankroll. The reason why Animazement happened is he said, I have money, and we paid him back after a couple of years, but he was wanting to make sure we had funds for the first few years. I say all this, Joe Maxwell passed away last year, really young at age 53, so I want to give a shout out to him. Thanks for everything, Joe. And then also, that was a nice guy, I wish he could be. Then also, Yoshimi Yamagata was, and still does rule Animazement within our fist. To this day, she is the chair of Animazement, and she's the head of guest relations. She's the director of the convention. And so Yoshi, and then Dwayne Sorrell was another guy who early on, he was the operations head before Brian Exelbeard, aka Bex, who was one of our immortal heroes, took over a couple of years later, and Animazement grew from there. Any recollections of early days of this era of Animazement that you can think of, aside from I showed up and they didn't tell me to leave?
Well, we can start with where we showed up.
Oh, so I could definitely tell you about that. So like the very first year we had Animazement, some of you who are local to Raleigh may know the North Raleigh Hilton. We had, count them, 700 people show up our first year. We were very excited to get that crowd. Actually, we were hoping for 1,000, but we still persevered. We were there for 3 years, and then we transferred over to God King Sheraton in 2001. The Sheraton rising majestically above High 40 down the highway. We were there through 2008. First year here was 2009. Once we come to the Raleigh Convention Center, the con explodes in popularity, and we don't talk about it here because we're only obsessed with nostalgia. So that's sort of the history of where Animazement has been. And if we outgrow this facility, I don't know what we do because we're done.
We asked them to build more floors to this.
Yeah,
That's about all we can hope for.
I think they're going to get on it. So we're going to ramble let you. I think it's sort of the basic backstory history. That's all the boring stuff. Let's start by telling zany anecdotes. I can tell you that back in the day, what did you do at the first Animazement? We tried really hard. There was only so much you could do. We had a music video contest, not as epic as the one you had the flashback for earlier. We're just patting ourselves on the back as far as we can. Just so you know. We also had costume contests, all that sort of thing. But we used to have a gentleman named Scott Poole who worked for Coastal Carolina.
Yes.
And Scott would come in and do dub your own panels. I see we have some fans from back in the day.
Yep.
These were hysterical. And then he stopped showing up and we stopped doing it because he got busy with other things. And what you would do is you would take one of the cartoons he would dub, usually for Animega, the anime company still active out of Wilmington, run by Bob Woodhead. And the dub your own panel, he'd throw in something like Crusher Joe, for those of you who are really old and know that, and terrible things would happen to it. Terrible, terrible things.
Yeah, so one of the ones that stood out to me was back in the Sheraton era, so it wasn't the very beginning, but it was a little bit later. They pulled out the footage for Virtual Fighter, which is an anime that I don't blame you for not remembering, but it totally existed and we had video proof of it.
I was in it, so yes, it
Yes.
existed.
It matters to you.
Yes,
Well done,
nice to
sir.
meet you.
Good job. Yeah, so we weren't as professional as you were in our dubbing. So what happened was, just the setup, if you've ever seen people actually doing dubbing for anime, because they already did all the animation, the main goal for the English voice actors is you see the flaps of the mouth moving and you're given a script and you're supposed to say the script to the best of your ability to match the flaps of the mouth. And so obviously to make this panel work, they were pulling people up out of the audience and giving them chances to do one line at a time. And you would get like 3 or 4 beats, then you'd stay your part, and then they'd play it back for everyone. The first few people that they pulled up tried to do a good job. They were very serious about it. They were trying to get it right. Partway through, though, they remembered that there were people at an anime convention who love being funny and having attention. So we completely abandoned the script and made this essentially a fan dub that went off in pre-abridged territory. And cool. And
That's what
Pay no
it's
attention.
yeah, it's cool. And so the thing that stuck out with me the most from it is there's a scene where it cuts away from our heroes and their adventure to a police station. And in this police station, there's a sheriff and a deputy. And you know, the phone call comes in, something's going on, it doesn't really matter. But these 2 people, like they were friends, I guess, came up there and they were just in line. The first one is the sheriff, and so rather than going anything on the script, he goes, "Jimmy, get your pants on!" To which the guy after that looks at the script, has no way to follow that up. And then when he comes up there, he goes, "But sheriff, you promised!" And the important thing to understand is that every time someone else recorded something, you have to play back what led into it. So we kept hearing those lines over and over again for 45 minutes. By the end of it, it wasn't quite pornographic, but we had a whole new world to explore that was in some ways more entertaining than Virtual Fighter. And that's the fun of Dub Your Own. Before we had a bridge, before we had the people online doing the widely available fan dubs, that's just the stuff that we came up with on like Friday afternoons at Animazement.
I found David Smith posted to Usenet his review of like Animazement 1998. For those of you who remember Usenet, God help you. And he said that his shining moment of glory is when he got up there and he was asked about something, and his response was "bull puckies," which he proceeded to be repeated on over and over. He also made a point of saying that the later it got in the evening, the more it basically went into pornography.
Yes.
So again, the 18+ panels next door. I'm sorry you couldn't get that.
Yeah, for context, Animazement didn't do 18+ panels back then.
But
we found ways.
So the other thing that was like the really big draw, why would you come to an anime con back in the day, was to actually watch anime. Nowadays, the anime rooms are if you're going, I want to sit down in a quiet dark room for a few minutes. Back in olden days, that was a huge draw. Actually being able to show up and go, oh my God, they have the fan subs. There was some commercial anime available in the US. You pay $35 for 2 episodes. That's about $50 in today's money. You might have to pay more if you're going to pay for them to be subtitled rather than dubbed. It's sucked-ass.
You paid more for subs.
Yeah, and you would also, if you were really cool, you may have involved Laserdiscs, or you may have imported Laserdiscs. I found a catalog from the Kaku Anima, run out of University of California, Irvine, and we used to love looking at this catalog that had the tiniest black and white photos possible, from which we attempted to make like about yay big. And we're looking at this going, I think I want to buy that poster. This was their catalog back in olden days. But I found their prices where they would be happy to sell you some import laser discs, like the one I just showed you, that I paid like $5 for, just so you know. But let's say you wanted to buy Japanese cartoons in the mid-90s. How much were importing anime LDs? So Bastard is, I mean, it's an insult, but it's also the name of goofy-ass anime OVA series. It was fantasy meets heavy metal. Like, that's the show where Bon Jovina from Metallicano is one of the main characters. If you wanted to go buy the Bastard LDs, you got a whole hour of footage for $105. That's $168 with the inflation rate, or $2.80 a minute. You really had to love anime. Akira ran you $225. You can buy, that's like $360 today. You can buy it off of Amazon right now for $17.50 and not pay $3 a minute. But it wasn't as bad if you bought old television shows like the Dirty Pair box set for $750 and Mason Ikoku for $1,995. You got to save that $5.
You hate filler now.
And then, best of all, Yurusei Yatsura, that was a long-ass show. That was like 200 episodes. You can have all of it on 50 Laserdiscs for $4,125. That's $6,600 with inflation. I'm just saying.
Financing available.
So, the chance to come and see really good quality Laserdisc footage, to see fan subs, yes sir?
I don't know if you're counting Blockbuster, but that was still around. So you got some.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, not a lot. But
Blockbuster was playing the game of, is this thing in the kids section for kids?
Exactly.
Yes.
So you guys had some, but the fact that the answers often no.
Blockbuster thoroughly enjoyed going, here's a delightfully heartwarming family film, absolutely not for children. Here is tentacle porn. We'll just casually set that out with the Disney films. They were very confused. But that was what it was like in olden days. It was magical. So, so the video rooms were a big draw. Nowadays, if you guys go to the video rooms, we stop showing stuff around 1 or 2 a.m. We figure after that everyone wants to go home and go to sleep. We used to run 24 hours a day. Those rooms got stank. We used to schedule in a half hour just to air it out. Just when people had been sleeping in there all night, got a little rough in there. And we used to show the most horrendous stuff because what would happen is companies would send us tapes and then we would have whatever the latest fan subs were. You know, someone was distributing a fan sub and trying to get everything we could. And we're like, all right, here's the stuff we're showing mid-afternoon because it's pretty relaxing and everyone's going to enjoy it. Here's the prime time block. We're showing the really big buster titles. We have this other stuff. I guess we have to show it at 3 a.m. And our poor volunteers who suffered through that in the middle of the night have my greatest sympathy. Later we said, why don't we just do marathons of entire shows when the 13-episode anime series became a thing around 2000? And we used to do that. And around 6 a.m. people would come staggering out of it. And finally they said, that's not worth it, and stopped. And now we were like, let's just stop at 1 a.m. and everyone's much happier. I will tell you that we also used to love going to show all of the samurai films that Bob Woodhead and Animega would show.
Yeah.
And they would put out all these like 1960s, 1970s toy anime, samurai films, not anime at all, just live action. And we'd go, these are awesome, put them in the schedule. We had never seen a single one of them. We had no idea what we were showing. Lone Wolf and Cub, throw it in the schedule. We showed all 6 of them. And so we would usually have one in the weekend on Sunday afternoon when we didn't know what else to schedule. We used to have some open the schedule first thing because we figured 10 a.m. on Friday, these aren't that popular. We don't have to show anything crucial. One day, I walked up to the video room that Koo used to run, and I'm like, let me make sure things are up and running. We're starting with something called Demon Spies. I walk in, there's a completely empty room. No one was at the table outside. No one's in the room inside. On the screen, a man wearing a Tengu mask is just going at it with a woman. And I look at this for a second, completely R-rated. I look at it, it's 10:15 a.m. I look around the empty room and I go, not my problem, and I don't want to throw us off schedule, and walk right back out. And no one ever came up later and said, you guys were showing smut in the middle of the day. I'm like, the gag also used to, the video scheduling people, we used to be terrible folks. The joke was that we used to have 3 video rooms for your convenience. And we decided video 4 and 5 would be where we showed the pornography, and that'll be the men and women's room. You could just pick a stall. So that was some of what you did back in OG days. What else was really cool from early days?
From like Hilton days?
Yeah, Hilton days, yeah.
So when I went to the Hilton, I had no real background in what was going on for Anime Beyond. Like, I'd seen some anime and like the Sci-Fi Channel ran it once in a while, which was a big deal. Some TV networks would run it on like Saturday mornings, and you might not even know you were watching anime. Like, this is the era of like the funny dub Samurai Pizza Cats and like the early Dragon Ball, like a little bit before Toonami really picked up and ran with it. So when I went to my first Animazement, I didn't know what to expect. And that in part meant I didn't know why there was this giant line for some kind of costume thing. I don't know, it was weird. I encountered a man who I had to correct because it's ridiculous that his Goku did not have black hair. He is wrong. I had no idea. It was pretty wonderful. And for the most part, I think the old dealer's room, I want to say, was about as big as this room.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you would have probably 8 or 10 dealers. One of the things that I should mention that we spun out of, the Triangle Anime Society used to run these 30-hour anime marathons.
Yeah.
Like, the way that TAS really got started was that we knew the Virginia Tech Anime Society, which those people founded Patsicon, and they would do 30 hours of cartoons in a go. That is too many hours in a row to watch cartoons, but we did it anyway. And then we had that over at State, and it kept escalating to the point where we had the dealer's room. Like, we had 4 dealers, but we had a dealer's room, by God. We had 8 guests, one named Steve Bennett, and then Weedoka was running the video game room with the latest PlayStation imports, and we would go and hang out in there and have the game room. And again, that's where we said, gosh, we can do this. But the dealers room early on, I think we had like 20 dealers at the first one, maybe like 16. We were proud of ourselves. There was some
Okay, so
ourselves.
there's some differences between the old dealer's room and the current ones.
I mean, the current one.
The stuff you found was just different.
Yeah, it was a little different. Also, Artist Alley. Artist Alley is where we said, hey, you want to grab one of those row of tables over there? We don't care. And they just sat and hung out all night, and people did sketches for you. That
Yeah.
was Artist Alley. Rather than, here, please buy this row of posters and buttons.
Yeah, mostly I remember the first time I went into a dealer's room, there was this table. It was a giant flat table, and it had CDs, like all across the table. And these were CDs, like you could tell from the art what anime they were from, but they were imports. So everything was in hiragana, katakana, kanji, all that stuff. And I remember I bought a bunch of them, even though these things were like $45 because that's what they were.